Well, good morning slash afternoon. Another late start to the day for me. I woke up this morning. My sinuses were going boom, boom, boom. So I had to get that all cleared out of the way. Um, Today I was going to make lasagna, my lasagna that I had made the ricotta cheese for. But then I decided I wanted something lighter, a little bit, soupy, sandwichy, along those lines that we could eat on for the next few days without overdoing it. Just kind of, snack and, have like a half of a sandwich, a little bowl of soup or a cup of soup. So what I landed on was potato corn chowder. I make this a lot. It freezes really well. I'm just going to do like a half of a recipe today, though, because I don't want to have to put this in the freezer and bring it out later. This is just going to be for us over the next few days and it's done. With that, I'm making a seeded rye, not the dark rye like you've seen me do in the past. And in other videos, just to let you know, I did make the dough last night. It's been in the refrigerator overnight. If you're interested in how that dough is made in the bread machine, you can go back. There's like 3 videos concerning bread machine dough. And I'm going to be doing that again, but for purposes today, it's a soup that I'm after. So what I'm planning on doing is the soup, which in the Instapot takes minutes, and then the seeded rye bread, which is it doesn't have the dark, like the molasses and the cocoa and the coffee in it, which darkens it. It's just a white rye. With that, it's going to be like a braided sandwich loaf, so that I can take half of it, slice it up, put it in freezer bags, and actually do freeze that, because that freezes great. And then you just take out the number of slices you need that day or you want to make a quick sandwich. And what's not going to be on this video at all is I'm planning on doing like egg salad. So I'll do an egg salad, throw that in the refrigerator. So if we get hungry or we want to eat like a light dinner, we can easily just take, a couple of slices of bread, make a sandwich out of the egg salad, and warm up a bowl of soup. Just really easy. And anybody that thinks that cooking like this takes a longer time than not, it doesn't. It's just a matter of getting your priorities straight as far as what you want to serve yourself and your family. This is all, if you want to call it from scratch, homemade, the way we used to cook, and it's good for you. There's no preservatives, no stabilizers in anything that I'm preparing, which is a lot better for you than buying boxed and bagged and canned items that go in your body that causes inflammation or creates inflammation and pain. So let's get past that. Let me tell you what I've got. I have potatoes, red skin potatoes that my daughter got from a friend of hers in Georgia that has a garden. He actually dug these potatoes out of the ground for her. I've got 1 medium onion. I've got 2 stalks of celery and their little cute ends. And then I have 1 carrot that I grated. I love grated carrots in soup. The seasonings for that is, all of this is 1 teaspoon with the exception of the turmeric. That's 2 teaspoons. Very, very, very good for you and anti-inflammatory as well. Then I have Badia Complete. I have, let's see, what is that I have? Oh, garlic powder and cumin. And then this is the seasoned salt. And that's all that I have on for the seasonings. And you can adjust those seasonings for your own taste. Then I have 2 cups of frozen corn, which isn't going to go in this initial phase of the soup. We're going to set that to the side. And then we have 4 cups of what I do. Instead of buying stock, I usually make my own or use the granulated bouillon. And this is called Shirley bouillon, and I get this from Amazon. It's very inexpensive, and it's not overly loaded with sodium, but it is flavored bouillon. For a pound of this, it costs, I think, maybe $6, which I've had this for 6 months. Okay, so what we're going to do, I've got a tablespoon, let me get these out of the way. Oh, and a tablespoon of garlic, minced garlic. So I've got a tablespoon of coconut oil in the bottom of my Instapot. And I'm going to go ahead and add my veggies, because what I'm going to do is put this on a saute function. And we're going to saute all of these vegetables at the same time and get them a little bit soft. Not a lot, just enough to get a little bit of color on them and to flavor them up a little bit. Potato overboard. Put our garlic in. Like I said, this isn't going to take long. So we're just going to mix that up. And on the Instant Pot, just put it on there and hit your saute function. And that's going to saute for, I'm going to go ahead and do those seasonings now. I was going to wait, but nah, I'm not going to do that. It's better with them to be able to cook in with the veggies than be added afterwards. So here you go. That's what it looks like. So I'm going to put this on the back counter on my saute function in the Instant Pot. This pressure cooker, it sautés for up to 30 minutes. We're only going to need to saute this for maybe, a minute to a minute and a half. The corn, the frozen corn, that's going to be put in right before we serve it. And I've told you this before in other recipe applications. Your frozen vegetables, if you wait to add those to your recipe toward the end of the cooking cycle, they're going to retain not only their shape, but their flavor and their color, because you just need to generally just warm them up because they're ready to go. And you want to keep that nutritional value in with them as well. The other thing I'm going to add right after this sautés is 4 cups of stock or broth or whatever you want to call it. It's just 4 cups of warm water to 2 tablespoons of granulated chicken bouillon. And this will go before I put it under pressure. And I'm only putting it under pressure for 4 minutes. So let's take this on the back. Hey, Andy, what are you doing, baby? So that's ready to go. And then what I'm going to do, I'm going to show you what we have in my bread department. Right, Andy? Andy's getting excited. He loves to help cook. Okay, so here's our seeded rye. Okay, here it is. This bread, now it's gonna be a long loaf and it's gonna be braided. Once you see it, you'll understand why. But this is a basic rye dough. It's got 1 cup of rye flour to 3.5 cups of all-purpose white flour. And then as far as the seasonings in here go, it's got 2 teaspoons of caraway seeds to 3 teaspoons of fennel. You'll see that. And what I'm going to do when I finish this up, right before it goes into the oven, the toppings are going to be, and I'm going to put those in my spicer. My spice mill is, we're going to coarsely grind a combination of caraway and fennel to put on the top, so that it has that distinct flavor of seeded rye. So we'll be doing this in just a little while. In the meantime, I'm going to go ahead and stir my veggies and see where we are with those. Okay, I'm gonna let these go for about a minute and a half to 2 minutes, depending on how they start wilting down. I don't want them to go too far because under pressure is going to take care of all of that. So I'll bring you back right before I finish with those to put the broth in and put it under pressure. Alrighty then, we're ready to go ahead and put the broth in our vegetable mixture. It has sauteed for 2 minutes. I also turned saute function off because I'm getting ready to put this under pressure for 4 minutes. So I'm going to add the broth, or that out of the way. Stir this up. And don't forget, we're only doing a half of a recipe of the potato corn chowder. So I'm going to put the lid on. Make sure that it's on the seal function. And then I'm going to hit my pressure select. And I'm going to take it down to 4 minutes. And it's ready to go. Are you okay, Andy? Okay, so that's done. So what we're going to do now, I want to get this bread ready to go. Get it on the, well, actually, I have already set, no, I haven't. Let me set this oven. We're going to set the oven for 350. And we're going to get this bread in the pan so that we can get it start at second rise. This is a beautiful bread. Easy to make as well. A little bit of practice. I mean, if you've ever braided anything, you can braid this. I absolutely love the way this comes out. It's just so pretty. And the dough is so soft. You want to do this in kind of a long rectangle, because you're going to cut it into thirds and then we're going to braid it. You can see how fast this is going to go. There's a few tricks that I'm going to show you. You really don't need a rolling pin, but I'm going to flatten this out just a little bit. I don't kill myself first getting my rolling pin. Okay, there we go. Let's go ahead and, because we want to elongate this, so because as you braid it, you know, it shrinks it up. So let's get it down here a little bit more. Make sure it's not too sticky. Yeah, it's a pretty dough. Okay, there you have it. What you see, Andy? Andy's always helping me, whether you hear him or see him. He's always on the little settee by the window when I'm in the kitchen. Rosie generally stays in her little closet bed because she's more of an introvert, but she comes out and lets herself be known. Okay, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to cut this in thirds and I'm going to roll it up into a snake. So here I go. So we want to try to make it as even, which I don't always do. One's usually big and fat on one end and skinny on the other. But we'll try our best, and that one's elongated. So we'll start with this one. Let's move these two to the side. Get them out of the way for just a second. None of this takes any time. If I wasn't running my mouth, this would be boom, 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 done. I'm going to roll it up in a snake, like so. Because don't forget, we're going to, you want to pinch him together. There you go. I love, love, love baking bread. What do you see, Andy? And I love having Andy with me. He's my biggest supporter. So, what is it, Andy? Huh? Let's go ahead and get this. There we go. There's our one snake. Let's put him to the side. And then we're going to do this one. A little bit of flour on him. Let's get him sealed, the edges sealed. You know, don't worry too much about sealing this exactly because it's going to bake anyway. But I just like it to be as sealed as possible so it doesn't flop open during the cooking process or the rising process. And you want your little snakes to be almost as equal as possible, so you don't have one bigger than the other one. But it happens. Nothing wrong with it. It happens. I mean, look how big this one is. This is our middle piece. So let's get him sealed up. Just like that. Press it together, your fingers. There, you see there was no kneading with this. All I did was put this in the bread machine. And then I took it out and I put it in its container last night, and that's where it's been. So, there you have it. So we're going to let this guy, since he seems to be our longest, we're going to let him be the middle section, okay? And we're going to take this guy, we're going to cross it over in the middle, because we're going to do one side and then the other, so it'll be even. If you start at one end and work your way down, this starts big and will be skinny, and then when it rises, you're going to have a lopsided dough. So then we're going to take this guy and we're going to do it right over top. You see how that's looking? I hope you see how that's looking. Okay, so all we're going to do is just like you're braiding hair. Let me get this out of the way. You're going to take this over like this. Yeah, right. And then you're going to take this. Let me do it this way. Hey, can you see that better? Yeah, there you go. You can't see this end. Like so. See how that's braiding? Just like that. Bring it over like so. We've got a skinny end, don't we? That end piece. There we go. Okay, so I'll start here. Go like this. Got my braid mixed up. Like so. See how that's going? I'm trying to get them together here. Do this, do this. You see that? Now you know why I've got the longer pan. Just going to make a long loaf. Okay, that's pretty good. I'm going to take the ends. I'm going to tuck them under after I try to seal them as much as possible. I don't want them to come loose during the baking process or the rising process. Can you see that okay? Sorry, I can't pick this up the way I would like to, but you see that's about the same. So as that rises, it's going to rise up and not out this way. And the paper, the parchment paper, is in there mostly for ease of removing it, because generally speaking, it's not going to stick. It's got a lot of oil in the pan, and bread generally without, a lot of sugars and things like that doesn't stick to the pan. But we're going to err on the side of caution here. So pick him up, plop him in there. Just tuck down. You make sure your ends are underneath. So as it rises, they're going to be underneath, and when they bake, they'll bake together. Can you see that? Such a beautiful bread. Now, what we're going to do, I'm not going to put this in my spice mill. I decided I'd rather have it seen on the exterior whole rather than coarsely ground. I think it's going to make for a prettier presentation. Let me get my brush. Okay, and then we're going to put an egg wash on it. See how quick this is coming together? A little bit of planning is all it took. It took me all of, 3 minutes last night to put this in the bread machine, the dough, the flour, and so on and so forth. And then you saw what I did right now. If I wasn't talking and just doing it, it wouldn't take 5 minutes to braid it and stick it in the pan and let it rise. And it's going to rise, I'd say in about a half hour, we'll be able to stick it in the oven. Also, on that note, try to remember to put a couple of cups, a cup or two, in a pan in your oven to create a little bit of a humid environment for this to rise. Okay, this is your fennel. Go a little bit light on this because it is strong. And then your caraway, I absolutely, absolutely love caraway. Mm. Mm. The smell is just amazing. This bread is going to be so pretty. Finally, I should put this behind my ears. OD caraway. OD caraway. Look at that. Isn't that beautiful? So I'm going to take my plastic that I use absolutely all the time, every time I bake bread, until it just falls apart. I can't use my little bonnets. They don't cover this long pan. I'm just going to put it on top like so. Let me get something to put under here. Okay, so we're going to put this over here to rise. Our soup, our vegetables for our soup, now is 2 minutes into a 4-minute pressure, high pressure. When it reaches the complete cycle of 4 minutes, I'm going to let it slowly come down to pressure for 10 minutes. And then I'll turn the pressure knob over and let it vent completely. And then we can just finish the soup and we're done. That's how easy this is. So when that happens, we'll come back. Okay, then the soup, the pressure has been released. It's been 12 minutes since I spoke to you last. And I'm going to take the lid off of it. And we're going to add the corn. I'm going to stir that up. And I'm going to show you what I'm going to finish it up with. I'm going to take cornstarch. And should have had that taken out, but I didn't. So I want to remove the lid. Oh my goodness, does that smell good? Okay, now just remember, we're only making a half of a recipe. I'm going to put the corn in. And then I have a half of a cup of half and half, to which I'm adding a tablespoon of cornstarch as the thickener. It is a chowder. Some people add flour. I'm just not a big fan of flour in soups. It seems like there's a residue. You can feel it on your tongue. Oh, let me get my. So we'll just stir this up. Make sure there's no lumpage in there. Plus, you don't have that to worry about with cornstarch. You don't have all the lumps and bumps you do with flour. So we're going to go ahead and add this to our soup. I'm not adding all of it, just to see where we are with it. I don't want it thick. I just want it to have a little bit of chowder-like consistency to it. So let me put it back on the saute button. Take it off warm. I'm putting it on saute. And we're going to bring it up to temperature. Now we'll see where we are with that. Okay. Okay. So the soup is complete. I just went ahead and finished up with half and half, the quarter cup. It's a little bit more than a quarter cup actually, and the 2 tablespoons of cornstarch. It's kind of like a slurry. And I added that, and then I brought it up to a simmer, and it thickened just to where I wanted, and I turned it off. It's just on warm right now. And I'll bring that out to you when the bread is done. It's ready to go in the oven now. It's finished rising. I'm going to take its little plastic wrap off. I just keep this oiled on one side and I just keep reusing it. I don't like using plastic anyway, but hey, you know, you got to do what you got to do sometimes. So here's our bread. Rule of thumb for me, when I have to question myself as to whether I think it's ready for the oven or not, I look at the edge of the pan. If the bread has crusted that pan and is peeping over the top, I'm going to go ahead and put it in the oven. Because two things you have to worry about when baking bread. You don't want it to underproof and you don't want it to overproof. So where's that sweet spot? Proofing, it's not a science. However, if you underproof it, the bread's just going to be hard. It's not going to be any good. And that's generally speaking, you want it to double in size. Overproofing is when it expands too much and then it wants to collapse in on itself. It's no good like that either. So after creating breads for a while, you're going to get a sense of, is it ready? Because different breads, sourdoughs, yeast breads, quick breads, they all have their own little personalities. So now I saved the egg wash from when we did this originally, and I'm going to put this again lightly, because you don't want to deflate this, on top to give it a really pretty sheen. So when this is done, I'm putting it in a 350-degree oven. I'm going to set the timer for 20 minutes. It's not going to be done in 20 minutes, but it's going to tell me whether I can tent it or not, because I don't want it to over brown. All these shows that I watch where breads, or they bake breads, and some are in there for 45, 50 minutes to an hour. And they come out and they're slightly golden brown and they look just wonderful, but they've never been tented. I've never in my life been able to do that. Anytime any bread goes in that oven, I'm ready with my aluminum foil. And I always check it. I have to 3/4 of the way through, because if you have any kind of toppings on it or sugar in it or anything like that, you can experience it over browning or overcooking on the outside and it being doughy on the inside. So you want to get yourself a digital thermometer if you don't have one already, because you want to be able to take its temperature, and it should read anywhere from, I don't know, 185 to 200. In that range are generally good, depending on which kind of a dough it is as well. So let's get this in the oven. It's in the middle rack position. And I've got 2 cups of water in there that have been heating along with the stove. Turn the oven light on so you can see hopefully how that looks so far. So I'm going to close that up. I've got my eggs on. 4 eggs are boiling for my egg salad. So when that's all said and done, we'll come back. I'll show you the soup along with the bread, and we'll have dinner. Okay, so I just took the bread out of the oven. It read on my digital thermometer 197 in the middle. I'm sorry, 187 in the middle, 192 on the edges. So it's going to continue baking as it cools, and the temperature will rise a little bit. But in the meantime, what I'm going to do, a lot of people say, oh, don't do that. I love it like this. You know, put a little bit of softened room temperature or melted butter on it, then take it out of its pan and let it cool for a little while. Now, everybody loves warm bread. And I'm one of the first ones to say let it cool to room temperature. That's especially true with the sourdough. Yeast bread is a little bit more forgiving. So go ahead and butter your bread. Now this will soften the crust, which is what I like and what I'm trying to do. A lot of people like a crustier bread. There's nothing wrong with that. You do what you like and what your family likes. Right, guys? Just brought the dogs back in from outside. It's really nice out there. Okay. Isn't that pretty? Look at that. But a little bit of butter will do. Pan's not that hot. Oh, I better use this before I burn my fingertips off. Isn't that just gorgeous? Okay, let's take it out of the pan. We'll put it on its cooling rack. Yeah, it's going to come out. There we go. There we go. That's why I like the paper. You're not digging at it. Parchment paper is wonderful. So, get rid of that. This in the sink. And what I'll do with this, so you can see this a little bit better, look at that, is I'll take and brush the sides. Right, guys? What do you want, Rosie? Oh, you want a treat? Gild this lily. We're gilding the lily, guys. There is a beautiful white rye seeded bread. It's beautiful and it smells wonderful. This is creativity at its best. Not only is it beautiful, you enjoyed making it and you're going to enjoy eating it. It feeds the soul and feeds the stomach at the same time. So I don't want to break into this just a second. I'm going to leave it go for like 10 minutes and then we'll cut into it, show you what it looks like, and also get the soup out and you can see what's for dinner. Okay, we're back. The bread is cooled down about 15 minutes. The soup is out. It's beautiful soup. A few croutons, some cheddar cheese on top. Ready to go. Our beautiful bread. Now, since it's still warm, I'm going to cut it on its side so as not to squash it, and always use a serrated knife. Look at this. It's just beautiful. Oh, my. Isn't crumb beautiful? So, let me taste this. I'm actually hungry. I haven't eaten anything today. Been smelling this all morning or all afternoon. That definitely feeds the soul. Now, what I like to do, take my bread. There's people like, oh no! I like to do it. Oh. Warm bread, potato corn chowder with croutons and some cheddar cheese on it. There's nothing like it. Talk about feeding the soul. This is feeding my soul. So thank you for my journey, walking with me with my journey today with the potato corn chowder and the seeded rye bread. Until we meet again and another recipe. Thank you. Okay, so we've come to the end of another recipe. We did the potato and corn chowder, and we did the seeded rye yeast bread. Now that can also be turned into like a sourdough bread with just a different leveling agents, which is, you know, your sourdough starter or your commercial yeast. I use commercial yeast. We put fennel and caraway seeds in that, which is, you know, common in that bread recipe. Now the corn chowder, the potato and corn chowder, is a base soup recipe that is like a mother recipe. You've heard of mother sauces and things of that nature, which you start with one kind of a base sauce and you can build it into others. Well, that's kind of what this is. This is the same recipe that I use to create my seafood chowders. All I do is add, you know, like a white fish. You can add shrimp, scallops, anything that you or your family likes in seafood chowder. You can do like all white fish. You can do all shrimp. You can do all scallops. You can put lobster in there, salmon, anything that you have on hand. Now I usually buy either canned salmon and oysters and things like that, and then buy the frozen seafood. because it just is cheaper. Now, when I can get good deals on fresh, then by all means do that. But you know, at some point you just have to cut your losses and say that's just going to make too expensive of a meal to buy all fresh. So that's why I do what I do. Now, this soup can also be turned into like a sausage and potato corn soup, which you can either put, let's see, what did I do? Oh, kielbasa. You can put turkey kielbasa, pork kielbasa, beef kielbasa. You can put, like a mild Italian sausage. You can put, spicy, and just stick with the very same ingredients that we did with this one. And those ingredients vary to what you have in your refrigerator. I just happened to have some vegetables that were looking a little bit sad, and I wanted to get those used up before they ended up in the trash can, which is just terrible. So I had, what you doing, Andy? What you doing? Andy's here. And Rosie. And they want my attention. I know, it's okay. Excuse this frog. I woke up this morning, I had this big old frog jumping around in my throat. And Andy doesn't like it either. He doesn't like my voice to change. Andy, there we go. Now I forgot what I was saying. but in the refrigerator. So I had a couple of ribs of celery. I had an onion that was actually good. It wasn't going bad. A couple of carrots left in a poor little individual bag. So, just use those up. Had some fresh potatoes from Georgia, recently dug out of the ground, which I was so excited about. And then, of course, the frozen corn. I end up using 3 cups of frozen corn instead of 2. But that's going to be your call. I like it really thick and chattery, and that's why I did what I did with that. You can also use mixed vegetables in this. You don't have to put like all fresh root vegetables. I just like it. I just think it adds a more of a depth to it. As far as the bread again is just a base recipe with the addition of a cup of rye flour, and then I seeded it with caraway seeds and fennel. And it's just wonderful. And with that bread, what I'll do with that is slice that up and put that 2 to 4 slices in a freezer safe baggie. Throw that in the freezer, and then whenever we want to make a quick sandwich, just grab that, because it's just as good right out of the freezer on the counter for 10 minutes, or zap it in the microwave, and you've got a nice sandwich with wonderful bread. So do yourself a favor. Try these simple but elegant recipes and make them your own. So with that, I just want to say thank you for stopping by. Take care of yourself, your friends, your family, and your loved ones. And just be kind to one another. And please, look out on your neighbors, because you never know what goes on behind closed doors and who may need you, or when you may need someone else. So thank you, and have a good afternoon. Bye-bye now.